People have been saying to me, Stubbs, what are we gonna do about these proposed tariffs that are coming in late 2025? Are we gonna see tariffs go up to 60% from exports from China? Perhaps, maybe. But it leads me to a good moment to talk about something. If we're expecting things to go up, not to freak people out about this, but it might be until 2025 a good time to think about getting the handhelds that are really important to you. People keep saying, you know what, Stubbs, I'm trying to track down this or that. I might as well buy it now. I saw someone say, I'm going to buy a PS5 Pro now before the semiconductor prices go through the roof. I am not the one to come to for economic policy, for international trades, for international tariffs. I'm not the right one. But with all that in mind, you know, for as far as this channel goes, as far as my content goes, it's time to talk about this. I do think, I think it's time to quit. I think it's time to quit. Ignoring all of these PowKiddy handhelds. There have been so many this year. I've only made a review on what? One of them? The V10? I've been using and playing with these all year, but I haven't been talking about it because handhelds keep releasing non-stop. They never stop. Maybe they'll stop soon, but until then, I'm not going anywhere because I have some PowKiddies to talk about. We're gonna be ranking these from my personal favorite to least favorite PowKiddies released in 2024. Also, we're going to look at them objectively to see where they fall 1 through 6, because PowKiddy has released actually only 6 devices this year. Not bad. Amberneck. Yeah, I'm sorry if I freaked anybody out there or used clickbait thumbnail. I just wanted to have some fun and lighten the mood a little bit. It's been a little cray-cray. Yeah. And if you're bothered, if you're triggered, leave a comment below. If you're unsubscribing forever, because I made a horrible joke, let me know. That's okay. Or stick around because we're going to have some fun talking about PowKiddies, and there are still things to enjoy from this hobby, no matter the outcome of anything. Because, man, we got a retro stew going. All right, let's hop in. PowKiddy has released 6 devices in 2024. Following up on 2 of their hottest devices from 2023, the RGB30 and the RK2023, 2 of my favorites. First, we started things out in 2024 with the PowKiddy RGB10 Max 3. This is rocking an RK3566 inside of it, and a nice 16:9 display, very vibrant visuals on this screen. I like the controls there, I like the D-pad, face buttons. This is very comfortable too with the ergonomic bump out. One I did not end up reviewing. We have very nice and quiet shoulders, and not too bad on the L2 and R2 either. Overall, I would say this has easily been one of the best PowKiddy devices this year, but we'll get into and rank and explain why a little bit more, and take a look at some different factors. And yeah, it has that nice crisp 5-inch IPS display, 1280 by 720. This one does have Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 3.5 headphone out, 1 GB of DDR4 RAM, 2 micro SD card slots, and a 4000 mAh battery. This one originally retailed around $120, but you can find it cheaper than that now. And now I should also say that most of these handhelds you're going to see today were sent for review by GoGameGeek throughout the course of 2024. I've just taken forever to get to them with everything that's been going on. So we're going to kind of show them off here today. Then a little bit later on, we got the RGB20 SX. Now, these both happen to come with Jealous. This is a great 1x1, using the same screen from the RGB30 here. Pretty much the same everything, minus the form factor is different now. This one, just really crisp display, very tall. Dig the face buttons, the D-pad, the joysticks. And this one has actually not too loud of back buttons, not the most ergonomic, but I actually brought this one to Taiwan and I enjoyed it during my trip. Nice big 720 by 720 4-inch IPS display screen. This one also has that RK3566 1GB of DDR4 RAM, 2 micro SD card slots, a 5000 milliamp hour battery, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and this one came out in April of 2024, retailing for $110. But these days, again, follow the link in our description to get it for cheaper. And we also have nice discount coupon codes if you're interested. Check our description. Following up on the RGB10 Max 3, which came out in February of 2024. This one really kept us fed for a while. There were some cool colorways. Really like this transparent blue that they offered. And yeah, PowKiddy just kind of stepped up their game. We thought we were going to get another 3566 or maybe an Android device like the PowKiddy X28, but next we actually went down a peg in performance and we were met with the tried and true Rockchip RK3326 chip being used again, and now this little form factor, and this is a 3.5-inch IPS, 480 by 320. That means it's a 3:2 aspect ratio, so this is ideal for Game Boy Advance. Now this one we get a headphone out, we get one SD card slot this time. We actually have a removable battery here, which is cool. Check out my review on the V10 if you want a more thorough and in-depth look. I'll link that in the description. This one though has very loud shoulder buttons, which is my least favorite thing, but I will say as a follow-up to my review earlier in the year is that this is one that has really grown on me over time as far as comfort goes, and so I found ways to comfortably hold it and do some Game Boy Advance enjoyment on here, and I've used it on the podcast I believe a number of times now to try the Celeste challenge. And so that leads me to the D-pad on here, which works actually a lot better in practice than I originally had in my review as I've been using it over time. And the face buttons are just top notch. Again, loud shoulders. But overall, I really like this. It's lower powered, but I focus on just using this for Game Boy Advance for the most part. Now, this came out in June of 2024 for about $60, but we saw this much cheaper than that, and you can still get this, you know, in about the $40 price range. 3,000 milliamp hour battery in here, so a little bit less, 1GB of RAM, of DDR3 RAM, and if you want Wi-Fi, you can get a dongle for that. Nice to see that replaceable battery. But yeah, this has been absolutely one of my favorites as well. Next, we saw the release of the PowKiddy RGB10 X. This one was released in September of 2024, so fairly recently here for only $40. This one really was a surprise. So this is revisiting their older RGB10 line and updating it for 2024. This one does not have Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. You do get headphone out, usual ports, and 2 micro SD card slots. The D-pad on this is a little bit shallower than I would like, although it is satisfying with that pivot, and it works very well in Celeste and other games. Face buttons, again, are also shallow, but this is one of the most pocketable devices because everything's so flush. You have an inset, one single joystick rocker there, and then inline shoulders. This is one that I've enjoyed as I've had it. 4:3 aspect ratio, 3.5-inch IPS on here. 3326 again, so this is basically taking the V10, making it horizontal more or less with a better screen, with a different screen aspect ratio. 1GB of DDR3 RAM again, 2 micro SD card slots like I said, and a 2800 milliamp hour battery, so even less battery life on this one. But this one has truly become a sleeper hit with a lot of people that I know, including on RH staff. It has a silly X design on the back, but this one just, I like the smooth plastic on it, and it just has a gorgeous, gorgeous screen. Very bright, vivid IPS on here. The joystick is functional, it's fine. I don't use it a ton, basically just those D-pad and face buttons. But yeah, for $40, this one has been a recommend for me, while not being a truly essential for this year. Next up, and this is one you may not have heard of. There are like no review videos out there on this. I really don't know what's going on with it. It has a crazy robot face, but this one is called the PowKiddy X35S. This came to market quickly without much fanfare after the canceled X35 model, and this actually retailed for $90, but with discounts, I believe I got this for around $60. The very loud shoulder buttons that you got from the V10, unfortunately. Now this one's interesting. I actually got this just kind of on a whim, and it has some problems. One of those problems being, I don't know how to change any settings because everything showed up in Chinese. This is the one, again, that did not show up from GoGameGeek. All the GoGameGeek ones here were really nice, and you can get them both with and without ROMs, so you can just buy it and just add your own ROMs. You don't need to worry about the whole piracy debate, or you can get them with games and they're going to be well organized, well scraped, and they're just nice to pick up and play. Oh, the menu music on this. So this is funny. So if you want best menu music of 2024, it has to go to the RGB. Oh, I could rock that all day. Just all day. This one is okay. It's definitely like second best menu music. Now this one has a very bright and vivid display, and there's a few surprises on here that I'm surprised that more people aren't talking about it. I guess it's because the software is a little bit half-baked here, and I do hope that we get some custom firmware, but for now, this emulation station that it ships with is not too bad. I'm forgetting so many things. Oh, so this has ArcOS, by the way, and this has ArcOS. Jealous, ArcOS, emulation station. All very similar styles. This one again has a 3.5-inch IPS, 640 by 480, 4:3 aspect ratio. This one now says it does have Wi-Fi, although I don't see a simple way to do that in this software. And so I wonder if this also is going to be via dongle, and that's misreporting, but I see Wi-Fi Bluetooth listed here. There's just not a lot known on this one yet. It's very under the radar, but it does rock a 3500 milliamp hour battery, 1 GB of DDR4 RAM, and a RK3566, surprisingly. So this actually has some oomph under the hood. And so I really like to see this one get a little bit more developed. This one also came along in September of 2024, released kind of silently, originally for $90, but again, I think I got it for around $60. And you should be able to find deals like that, especially this month. Speaking of deals, GoGameGeek can be a great place to pick things up, but another option is to go through a site like AliExpress, who is the sponsor of today's video. So AliExpress came to me and said, hey, we'd like you to let everybody know about our Choice Day sale and our November sales. And so with that, pick 2 handhelds, go ahead, chat about those. I further talked about this on the podcast this last Monday to know more about these. But I went ahead and picked up the tried and true Anbernic RG35XX SP to chat about and play games with, and the TrimUI Smart Pro. This is another one I want to make a video about. I really haven't talked about it much yet, but these are both sweet. They came fully loaded with everything, like a 256 gigabyte card on here, 128 gigabyte card on here. And I really like the TrimUI Smart Pro. This is one I really do need to talk about. It's one I've just been playing on and not reviewing. Yeah, this is one that has really won me over, and so I decided to pick that. I picked out a version that is the very cheapest that I found. I think it was, $47, $48. Link will be in the description. Also, my favorite clamshell of the year, and my favorite H700 in the end of this year, the 35XX SP version 2. And this one also came with a 128 gigabyte SD card, stock OS on here, although I'm going to upgrade this one to PooooowwwKIDDY, likely. But things aren't just on sale on AliExpress this month. You can get them for a very big discount because now we have our own discount codes. Say goodbye to Greg. Greg9? No. Meet RHH9. That's right, we have our own coupon codes now. And the coolest one is that you can get a Retroid Pocket Mini while supplies are in stock for about $170 shipped if you use the RHH60 code, which takes $60 off of $200. That is a really cool code. So yeah, check out the discount codes in our description. They'll be on the screen here. I think it's time to go back to talking about these PowKiddies. I'm really sorry. That's I don't know where that came from. The last PowKiddy this year so far in November, although I don't expect any other ones this year. 6 is enough. Okay, what is it? Look at the tote bag. GoGameGeek sent RGB20 Pro. Yeah, and so the RGB20 Pro showed up next. And this one has a nice cyberpunk window so you can see your PCB. Unfortunately, it has a flaw, a cosmetic flaw on this very kind of glossy, uncomfortable plastic shell they have on the top of this for no apparent reason. I really like the plastic on the back. It's this nice matte, comfy plastic. Quiet shoulder buttons for once, like the quietest PowKiddy shoulder buttons I've ever heard. That is so nice. Comfortable. A little bit smaller screen. This is going to be the screen that we're going to see on the TrimUI brick. But this one arrived here in October of 2024 for $70. Also available in our description through GoGameGeek. And with coupons, we have, for instance, our RH 15% off coupon you can check out. Or lately, if you're interested, there's a new one. They're USA Warehouse stock items only, which you can check on their website right here. And it'll say USA Warehouse right at the top of the screen. There aren't that many to choose from there, but those items are 44% off for these Black Friday sales, which is nuts. Shipping with GoGameGeek is the one thing that hasn't been my favorite from them. They do take a little bit longer than perhaps AliExpress, but when it comes to you, it comes fully loaded, and also their return policy is so easy, and they're very communicative. Get something exchanged. If you have issues, they're right there. So you do get that peace of mind. So the RGB20 Pro, this one has that 3.2-inch IPS 1024 by 768. So actually a very high resolution display, all things considered here. 4:3 aspect ratio, again an RK3566 with 1 GB of DDR4 RAM, 2 micro SD card slots, a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. So one of the biggest batteries of the bunch here. That is so cool to see. We have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on here. And this one also shipped with ArcOS. I know that there's a version that ships with Rocknix as well. And Rocknix really is going to be my preferred operating system over Jealous, because Jealous is now no longer maintained for these devices as far as I know. And so you want to just do Rocknix, ArcOS. There's multiple different custom firmwares. There's MIUI for many of these. So check them all out. They all have their different pros and cons. I talked about this one on the podcast, by the way, on Monday. So if you want to check out more thoughts there, my unboxing of this, my initial thoughts, that's a great place to go for that. But I like the inset joysticks here. So we have an extra butt here. This is actually taller, okay, than the RGB20 SX. Can you believe that? With a smaller, way smaller screen. But it's a very bright, vivid, nice screen. It's lightweight. I don't like, again, the shell on the front. I like the shell on the back. I think the price point is about right, but I would like to see it come down a little bit. The D-pad, though, is a little bit sloppy and loose for my liking. I just don't like that pivot quite as much. Face buttons are very serviceable. They'll work well. Inset buttons here, and so inlaid joysticks there, so it'll fit in your pocket, although it's very tall, so it'll fit a little bit funny. You do get the HDMI out to the two of the USB-Cs up top. And yeah, so far this one I would say is maybe my N64 machine, my 4x3 machine. And on that note, you know, these both are good for the 4x3. This RGB10 X as well. Although these will be able to play, you know, newer games, N64, Dreamcast. RGB20 SX, I really just use for a couple of games. I just use for a couple of systems. Nintendo DS, NES, SNES, Vertical Shmups, Game Boy Color, and that's really about it. Oh, and Pico 8. But on the same token, I like GBA on here, and I like those wide systems. So Dreamcast with hacks to have widescreen. Game Boy Advance is great on here. Nintendo DS side by side looks nice. PS1 with the widescreen patches. PSP really suited for the screen. This is a really nice pairing. I like this for PSP quite a bit. And yeah, and then low powered 4x3. And then these basically are the same, although you are going to get a higher resolution, I believe here. Let me double check the X35 specs. Yeah, so this one actually only has 640 by 480, whereas here you're going to get a little bit smaller screen, but you're going to get that 1024 by 768, so a nice big PPI on here. Yeah, so I haven't had this one too long, but I have been playing on it, and it is very comfortable. I would say that is its strength. It's definitely the most unique looking this year, and it's more of a talking piece than anything. The PCB thing is just, take it or leave it, but it's comfy to use. 4x3 content looks great on it. Okay, so getting to actually ranking these things, right? So I can tell you right off the bat, my gut instinct, I've been playing on these for quite a while, all told, and I've had some just feelings of, okay, how do I rank these personally? I really think for me, it's gonna be the most hours logged per device, and that, with making sure I gave ample time this week to the RGB20 Pro, I really think my favorite of all these that I've used the most actually is gonna be the V10. This little mini. You know, and while this mainly is for GBA for me, the other system I play on literally all of these devices is going to be Pico 8 because of Celeste, just to have the best button feel, even though I'm sacrificing some screen real estate so it can look a little funny. Just awesome controls for Celeste, so easy to pick up and play, very responsive buttons. The only issue though with this one, yeah, you saw it right there, I accidentally press these shoulders so easily. So while I do find it comfortable and easy to pick up and play, that is a bit of a thing to keep note of when you're playing these games that really take quick precision. I accidentally pressed there. And so this one has the most hours logged, and I thought really that is going to be the best way, but you have to consider multiple things. Am I actually going to play this for hours on end, and will it play the most systems for me? And if I could only pick one of these, you know, which one would it be? In that case, I don't think it would be this one. A really versatile option is going to be the RGB20 SX because it has this 1:1 aspect ratio screen. So the systems that are really going to look good in here again are Final Burn Neo for those vertical shmups, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, DS, NES, SNES, because you can do 8:7 aspect ratio on these two natively, and then you can do your DS, a big screen up and then a little screen below if you want, or just, you know, half and half. Game Boy Color, beautiful, beautiful scaling on here. Game Boy as well, and Vertical Shmups is just made for this. My God. For instance, Game of the Month, 1943. Buttons are a big deal for me. Now, some people say, well, screen quality and speaker quality can be some of the biggest deals for this. And my focus on this budget range of devices, especially from PowKiddy, tends to be the screen, tends to be the buttons first, and then the screen secondary. And so this is, again, a nice big vibrant screen for playing those vertical shoot 'em ups. And the controls feel great, but the joysticks like this without any sort of thing to grab onto is a little bit awkward, and so I wouldn't play like FPS shooting games on this. I would stick probably to simple RPGs, platformers, and Pico 8. So this one, yeah, over time for me really gets uncomfortable. And so I can't say, while it's comprehensive and it plays a lot of systems and 4.3 content actually looks pretty good on here, that's probably not going to be it for me either. Then I look at something like the RGB10 Max 3, a follow-up to the original RGB10 Max 3 Pro, heart. This is one that I didn't get a time, that I didn't really take a chance on at first. God, we had the RP4 come out in February, and and then the Odin and the Odin 2 Mini and everything else, 500 Ambernix. And this is one I didn't get to until later in the year to actually start using. But once I did, I noticed just how comfortable this ergonomic bump out is. I really do like the D-pad and face buttons on here. Comfy setup for these sticks. You have a D-pad up top layout, so it's going to be focused for those retro games, which is nice. Quiet shoulders, which I always appreciate. And I mean, come on, widescreen content on here looks awesome. But look at this beautiful, vivid, bright screen on this RGB10 Max 3. Like, look at that screen. I was sleeping on this handheld. I will admit, like this one has really surprised me. It's very versatile. If you don't mind having some bezels and some black bars here, you can do all your 4x3 systems on here. The 3566 in here, you can do all of your 16x9. You can even do your 1x1 if you want. You can do your DS side by side. And it's just comfortable to use, and it's so lightweight. Doesn't get all hot. No real complaints about the buttons. Pretty decently sized battery at what? What do we have in here again? Tell them what they have. We have a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, so a decently sized battery. This one has 2 down-firing speakers, and we will talk about speakers as well, but it's not my main focus on these budget devices. So if we talk about speakers, we got 2 down-firing stereo speakers here, a mono speaker right up front there in both the V10 and the RGB20 SX. We got 1 mono front-firing speaker here, and then 2 holes on the bottom. So I think that one's a mono speaker. The X35, the X35S, we get a front-firing mono speaker. RGB20 Pro has a loud front-firing mono speaker, which actually sounds pretty good as well. Where is it? All these speakers sound not too bad for what you get. But I really miss the days of the 2 stereo front-firing speakers from the RGB30. We don't need to go into a full speaker comparison for these budgets. They all sound very similar to each other. So yeah, this one is a real contender though. You can even do 4x3 content, and I'll show you what those bezels look like. Come on, Barbie, let's go party. Oh, jump over the hole. Yeah, not too bad. Those bezels are not too bad at all, and I think 4x3 content can look good on here. And then to take a look at Game Boy Advance. So yeah, Game Boy Advance scales really nicely on here, and it just looks good. But on the higher end, as I'm playing just now, I'm noticing it does get a little warmer than I would have liked. But it's a nice big screen to do whatever you want, and this really should cover the most ground technically. So that's probably the most comprehensive device. This X35S. The joysticks just feel really good, and I really am a fan of this D-pad. Like, this is probably my favorite D-pad of the entire bunch, believe it or not. Again, though, mimicking the original RGB20 style, you have no butt here to hang on to, and so comfort and ergo-wise, over time, this one is not going to be comfortable. It's just not really ideal. And these are super loud, and so I wouldn't play this one in bed. I tried playing it in bed and having it be this transparent shell. You have that very bright LED light in the daylight. Just imagine what that looks like with the lights off. It gets dang bright. But having an RK3566 in here, no custom firmware that I know of yet. There may be something like Rocknix in development for this, but I just don't know that there's enough coverage on the device. In fact, I hope this video gets out there to developers and people and brings some interest to this so that we can see some custom firmware love, because I really like some of the basic bare bones that we have here. I like that we have, at least a 3,500 milliamp hour battery. The price isn't too bad. We do get that 1 GB of DDR4 RAM. The screen is nice and vibrant, 640 by 480, but still works well for all your 4x3 content. I really think this one could be a good contender for N64. Unfortunately, whether Hall stick or not, we do have cardinal snapping in effect here. Watch Mikey Sax's video on our channel explaining his love for cardinal snapping, but for platformers and for shooters, yeah, I can feel it locking into those cardinal directions there. So basically it feels like an 8-way D-pad. The D-pad itself, though, oh, that's responsive. Oh, that feels good. Face buttons feel really good, though. Just no butt to grab onto to really get that ergonomics. Ugh. Yeah, and so I don't think this one's going to be it either, although there are a few features that I like upon initial trial. You should be able to tweak N64 to play how you want. There's still parts of the system like RetroArch that's in Chinese here, so you're going to have to change that. Very half-baked ROM coming to the West here. Yeah, these face buttons feel great, and this D-pad feels awesome. Speaker sounds good. Screen looks much better than what you're seeing on camera right now. It's a little bit blown out. Yeah, just very, very solid. But without having the wide community support yet, not having custom firmware options, really modding, seeing much in the modding scene yet for any sort of upgrades. Yeah, this one on its own, it's an oddity. Maybe it'll become more popular. Maybe we'll be talking about it more. But that's probably not it either. Now the RGB20 Pro, the new one on the block, man, this has some cool things going for it. I like it. It's probably the most comfortable of these. Look how much, if you have big hands like mine, look how much room you get to grip the device. One thing about this not being a matte front shell is that it is more grippy because of that. And so that's a benefit, although the OCD part of me really wants to just remove this silly like acrylic plastic, transparent plastic that's on the top here. But I feel like we're gonna get dust in the screen. It looks like it's all supposed to be one flush piece. So I will resist for now. Very nice and loud front-firing speaker there. Beautiful screen, even if a little bit smaller. D-pad, not my favorite again. The face buttons feel great though. And the joysticks are not uncomfortable to reach. And I like this cheddar block color too. First, I think let's share a few of our RH staff members and their picks. So here's Bands. He shared it earlier today. He thought, well, here's what I think. So he kind of labeled 1 through 6. Okay, so Bands said, yeah, the RGB10 Max 3 was his number 1. 2 was the SX. 3, actually, wow, he had the RGB20 Pro. That really got up there. 4, he thought was the RGB10 X. He actually put the V10 in 5th. And then the X35 in 6th, but he hasn't used this yet. Well, I'm sorry, I sent it to him. He has used it. And then Azil, his thought was, again, RGB10 Max is number 1. RGB20 Pro is number 2. 3 for him is the SX. 4 is the 10X. 5 is the V10. And for him as well, 6 is going to be this X35. Interesting. So let's give the third data point, and that'll be my kind of takeaway, and then we'll try to come up with some sort of objective ranking here, and we'll make use of some of those tier rank lists. So for me, after everything's considered, the best PowKiddy objectively of 2024 is going to be the RGB10 Max 3. Second best, if we're comparing the 20 Pro versus the RGB20 SX, I mean, look at units sold. So the RGB30 of 2023, this thing has just gone gangbusters. Oh my God, we're taking this hardware really and turning it in vertical. And so of 2024, I would have to say that this was going to be the next best. 3566 again, 1x1 screen. So we're going to say the RGB20 SX in second place. Next up, in third place, oh man, this is tough. God, I mean, having that Game Boy Advance 3.2 screen is so cool, but can you really say that this should be above this? I still think, objectively speaking, you get more usage and functionality here out of the RGB10X. I think that should probably be third, but V10 directly behind it. Then you have this, maybe not necessary release, but you do get a preview of what the TrimUI brick screen is going to look like, and some unique features. And really, I think for comfort, this is really up there. I don't like that the screen is so small in comparison to the rest of the device, even though it is a high resolution one. Take into account this is an RK3566 though, and so objectively speaking, I do suppose we're gonna have to put this in third. It will have more functionality, it will offer more speed. And so that puts us like this. By default now, with the least supported device, although a mystery wrapped in an enigma, wondering what we can get out of this over time. For now, the X35S is going to land us at 6th place. So there you have it. I'd like to know. Rank these in order 1 to 6 for you in the comments below. Let me know what you think. This one's a tough one, but objectively, I do think we're looking, yeah, RGB10 Max 3, RGB20 SX, RGB20 Pro, RGB10X, V10, and X35S. I want to say thank you again to GoGameGeek for sending many of these over for review. Check out the various things on their site. They have lots of cool mods. They have nice cases. I love this everyday carry that I have for my Miyoo Mini Plus. And thank you to AliExpress for sponsoring this video. And I love my 35XX SP in this GoGameGeek Handle, very comfy. And we'll be talking more about the Trim UI Smart Pro as well, which people say is a offshoot of PowKiddy or related in some way. And so it does have really a place at the discussion table. I don't know if that's the case, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. This is unique with these Vita sticks, and yeah, I want to talk about this more, but it does not belong in this tier list at this time. Well, I think with that, it's time to wrap up. So which PowKiddy did you think wins in this tier ranking list here? Are any of these e-waste to you not worth picking up at all? Potentially until we get more support. Really, the X35S, unfortunately, is not a recommend from me. RGB20 Pro, I don't think is entirely necessary. Nonetheless, it has a lot of things going for it, and so it's worth being in that discussion. And I'm going to keep playing on this one. This is one that I actually want to use for a little bit longer, and I'll report back on the podcast further thoughts and findings, more videos. I have things to talk about. Really surprised with this RGB10X. This thing is so cool. I know, for instance, Joe on our writing staff loves his RGB10X. It's like his favorite sleeper hit of the year. And I'm really starting to enjoy this one more as just my all-around carry. Previously, that title did go to the V10, but those accidental shoulder button presses drove me a little crazy. And speaking of, I had multiple accidental on those shoulder buttons, so be aware of that. And I actually had accidental diagonals happening here on the Max 3. A few of these D-pads, when I was like going through text, entering text, it would just go boop, boop, boop. Well, felt okay in games. That annoys me. I don't know. No surprise that the RGB20 SX came in so highly with that beautiful 1x1 7x20 display. So good for Pico 8, while not the most comfortable. But all of these so far, this one not recommended right now. This one, not necessary. 20SX, also, I don't think necessary. I would say still pick up an RGB30. You get, in my mind, a little bit better comfort. And there's alternatives besides PowKiddy, of course. You can look at an Anbernic RG Cube XX, their new H700 version. You can look at other devices from them, but that's not the focus for today. Check out our other videos to learn all about those devices. But the V10, for $40, and the 10X, both of these absolutely worth it. And for the right price, I think the RGB10 Max is an awesome, comprehensive RK3566. Really does what you need. Comfortable, sounds good, feels good, looks good. And this has got to be probably the best of the bunch here. And so this one, yes, is a recommend for me. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Until then, I guess I don't know how to hold all of these PowKiddies. I'm gonna have to probably let a few go. So stick around on our channel for some upcoming giveaways. Zoo actually has a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna have an end of the year giveaway. We're gonna give away a bunch of handhelds. And these actually, most of the ones in the video here this week are going to a new home. You wanna hear something crazy? I just said all that stuff just now, but believe it or not, the only one that I'm gonna hold on to for right now is the RGB20 Pro. Wait, stop the video. I'm not keeping the RGB20 Pro. I decided the PowKiddy that I'm gonna take with me from now on actually is gonna be the RGB20 SX. I need more time with it. I wanna modify it. I wanna make it better, so stay tuned. Not only that, there's one thing I forgot to mention in the video. The reason why the RGB20 SX wins above all the other PowKiddies of 2024. Really cool stickers. Oh yes, it's modding time. Just you wait. Until the next one, this has been Stubbs with Retro Handhelds. I just wanted to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share to stay in the know for all of your favorite retro handhelds. And a special thanks to our channel members, our patrons, our subs. All of you make everything possible for us here. Perks with RH start for as little as $3 a month. Join us on our Discord to chat and play games, have some community, enjoy some good talks, get some help with your devices, and join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, where we chit-chat the latest handheld news, we show off new items, we unbox stuff, and have a lot of fun with me, the Retro Tech Dad, Ban, and a rotating guest on the Retro Handhelds podcast. I can't wait to talk about all this stuff. Yes, there's tariffs. No, I'm not quitting YouTube. I will be here with you. And again, I didn't mean to freak anyone out. We're going to get through this and it's going to be okay. Prices, I know, are going to probably go crazy next year. And so it'll be an interesting year. And we'll be here talking about it one way or the other. Until the next time, this has been Stubbs with RH. Take care of those handhelds, everybody, and each other.